Cool. So, good morning, everybody. So, I'm Ben Norcutt, a technical consultant at Somerford Associates with a background in cloud computing, DLP, migrations to cloud. I've been working in the space for a number of years, and I'm joined again today by Tim Sharples from Netskope.
Morning, everybody. Tim Sharples. I'm a solutions engineer here at Netskope. I'm excited to talk to you today about AI.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. So just as a recap around Somerford Associates, if you don't know and you haven't joined us before, we partner with leading technology providers, obviously Netskope being one of those, and we have staff on board and we specialize in data security, cloud migrations, and our elite partner status enables us to actually provide an end-to-end service for our clients as well. So from the very beginning of understanding requirements, what you're looking for, what the requirements are, the implementation of the projects, and also the support when the project is implemented as well, with an experience with local government, commercial organisations, large-scale deployments, and we do have security cleared PS and support members in the team if that's a requirement, and all of our projects are run by our project managers as well. So the value that we bring to our clients, so we do the full license resale and management service. So again, from understanding your requirements and managing that through the whole life cycle. We do workshops for understanding requirements and design. As I said, we've got a dedicated support desk, so I'm not going to go through everything on the slide, but we also do our free annual health checks for our customers as well. So we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your products and services. And I'll let Tim do an introduction to Netskope.
Yeah, so Netskope, if you haven't heard of us, we're a SSE and SASE platform. Our primary focus is to connect users to applications, wherever they might be, with the speed and resilience of modern cloud networks. So we're here to provide, a fast, secure way of your users doing their job, getting to applications they need to do their job.
So today, our webinar is all about AI, artificial intelligence. We know it's a big thing at the moment, and it's sort of, accelerated over the last few years, definitely becoming more sort of consumer friendly and more mainstream. And there are many types of AI. So if we look at, what's a bad use of AI as well? So destructive AI, effectively bad guys using AI to help them craft, good, believable phishing emails, enabling them to actually pull in information from around the web effectively to actually craft a phishing email that's not full of spelling mistakes and bad grammar, which has always been traditionally a giveaway of a phishing email. Even down to things like, manipulated video and images. So fake news, purporting to be something that it isn't. Actually, creating, again, good looking websites so that, they don't actually need to know code to actually produce them. And even on the right hand side, asking an AI model to give you the code that you need to run in Metasploit to actually, establish a reverse shell to a machine as well. So sort of script kiddie on a massive level where, it's not even script kiddies anymore. It's just basically asking AI to give you the information. So that's an example of, bad AI, if you like, how it can be used in a bad way. But then there are things like creative AI, using it for, creating icons and logos, giving you ideas around mood boards, even, custom coloring books, all down to, solve my maths homework for me. So, maybe not the best way to use AI, but certainly as a teaching and a learning tool, it certainly is a use that we see out there for AI these days. But how can we use it in a productive way? So we can use it to give us code reviews. So you've got, the likes of Copilot these days, and other tools that allow you to actually, give me good structured code or analyze my code. We still have to be careful with it. We don't want to be sharing the keys to the kingdom with an AI model and having our information absorbed into its training data set. Bottom left, we've got an example from Tim of wanting to create a nice message out to some viewers of an event, and he can rewrite it with AI. So yeah, things like Grammarly and other plugins that help you actually compose content is certainly a good use of AI. And how to actually present figures, for example. So we've got some raw data, and using ChatGPT to actually say, put this in a nice format for me, give me ideas to actually kickstart my own creativity. Sometimes when you've got a blank page in front of you and you're like, how do I even start? It gives you a kickstart. And also things like research. I use ChatGPT for this a lot. Is like, rather than doing a bunch of Google searches myself and pulling out information about a company, I can say, tell me more about XYZ company. So here we've got, tell me more about the Netskope SSE platform with some key bullet points. And we've got some nice data back. And it will always say at the bottom, especially ChatGPT, there is, you need to validate the information that's returned back. So you're not just trusting it on face value, but it gives you a starting point. So how can we safely enable the use of Gen AI within our organizations? Because it's a great tool, but we need to use it safely. So we're looking at enabling the use of it whilst reducing risk. So we need to have visibility into what's going on in our organization. So potentially high risk users, the content that they're sharing with the AI, and also the destinations that the information is going to. We need to defend ourselves against misuse and threats as well. And also education. User education is a big key in the whole Netskope ecosystem. Let's not just be known as a blocking tool, which Netskope isn't. It's a way of coaching and educate our users. So for detecting, we can detect the sharing of data in various formats using Netskope's machine language image classification, for an example. So it's not just looking for text. It knows what a passport looks like, the structure of a document. It knows what a driver's license looks like, the actual structure and the format on the page, as well as the contents. Same things for things like, financial documents, CVs, structured sort of documents that sort of follow a sort of pattern, even though they can all be slightly different, or even down to things like pictures and screenshots taken. So a picture of a whiteboard with sensitive information on it. It can look at the structure and it can analyze the data within that. And yeah, the document classification that I mentioned. So looking at, things like M&A documents, NDAs, agreements, stock agreements, source code as well. So we're not just looking for random bits of data. We're looking at them in the context of the document that contains them. Then we move on to defend, so how we can use Netskope to actually defend our environment. So, we can look at where people are entering credentials and actually look at the context of it and actually alert them that it's a potential phishing attempt, looking at the destination. Also, malware, uploads and downloads from resources, looking at the malware using the various detection engines that Netskope has and third-party engines to actually look at the content, and also tracking the user behavior over time. So the risky user reputation on the right-hand side. So it says, hi, NS user, that would be replaced with the username, the email address. It appears you've been partaking in some dodgy activity and you have been identified as a risky user. So we can look at their behavior over time and actually reduce their score. And then the rule is once their score hits a certain level, we can actually prevent them from taking further action. And then education. So the ability to actually say, you're accessing an application, a Gen AI application, so take care. Applications like ChatGPT are revolutionizing work processes, but they also pose security risks. So it's just warning people not to submit sensitive corporate data into the Gen AI application. And they can continue, but we've also given them a link to our AI at work policy as well. So we're educating the user on what is acceptable behavior. And then also in real time with ChatGPT, tried to upload a top secret document, and we detected the upload and it contained data which we didn't want to be shared with a third party because it was an internal document, and we stopped that from happening. So some key takeaways from this section, keep your policy simple. We want to, make it simple for you, but whilst protect the organization. So educating and stopping people from inputting PII data into Gen AI models, any sensitive company information in general, or any protected company intellectual property. So turning off the history is a good one if the tools enable that. And closely monitor what's being inputted and outputted to these models as well. So this is again fact checking the results that come out of the AI models. And I'm going to hand back over to Tim, and he's going to take you through how Netskope can help here.
So if we want to start looking at what Netskope can do to help, we basically look at all the things that Ben's been going through so far and saying, well, actually, where should I start with this? And we go, well, the first thing really is visibility. So without knowing, what my users are using within the organization, without knowing, what people are accessing on a day-to-day basis, then we can't really build out those governance policies around, well, actually, what do I need to control? Where do I need to educate? Where do I need to sort of look at my controls? So the first thing that the Netskope does is it allows you to see into those applications which are in use, what are they, and who's using them, and we can dive down into that data and produce reports which give you that good view of everything going in your organization from an AI perspective. And this goes for not just the the common applications that we know about that we can see on this screen at the moment, things like Copilot and GitHub and Grammarly and ChatGPT that we've all heard of, but a lot more. So AI is becoming a lot more prevalent across applications. You can see on this slide there's 218, and you'll see in the demo in a minute that number is continuously growing. So Netskope stays ahead of that and is constantly monitoring these applications for when they become AI applications, when new ones occur, so we can keep giving you that information around what's going on. Once we've got that information and we know what's in use, we can choose what to do with it. So, we can choose what applications we want to sanction, and very quickly and easily, have this methodology whereby, until we've sanctioned, until we've determined that actually this application is safe to use, we can prevent people accessing those applications. And, one of the main reasons for this is around, the fundamentals of how, AI applications work. I mean, a lot of them are based on large language models. And when you're utilizing those large language models, then unless that data is, kept to you, the customer, generally what you input into an AI goes into the AI and is used to further train the AI. So if you're putting in that, that sensitive PII information, that those sales figures in one of the diagrams, potentially source code for source code review, and the application you're putting into doesn't allow you to hold that within your organization, essentially you're giving away your PII, your personal information just to the AI. So we need to be very, very careful when we're starting to actually allow these AI applications. So what we do is, like I said, allow you to sanction or unsanction those applications and then utilize that in your policy quickly and easily. Once we've done that, like I said, those policies can become quite granular. So, example here of sanctioning that application, saying, hey, generative AI, if it's sanctioned, we're going to allow you to, create posts, post information to the site, upload information, that sort of thing. So we're going to allow you to use it, and we're going to give you a little message to just let you know that we are actually monitoring this behavior and we're monitoring this activity. If you didn't fall under that policy and you weren't sanctioned, then of course you're not going to be able to access the application. And we can also then start to bring in, other capabilities around what we allow people to do. So for example, we might want to allow people to, interact with our chatbots, but we don't want them uploading any content whatsoever. So we don't want them copying and pasting documents in. So we can provide that more granular level control about what we're doing within the application. And then finally, we can then, as Ben was saying, use our policies, our actual AI within Netskope to detect what data is going up to Netskope, whether it is in this case, some GDPR sensitive PII information. So, me and not my real national insurance number or my real address. But we can actually, notice that this is potentially sensitive information because it's a user next to their national insurance number, next to their address, which tied together is personal information. So we need to be very sensitive about whether that information is going into things like AI tools. And with that, I'll just show you what a little this looks like in practice. So if I jump across to my Netskope tenant, the first thing we were talking about is being able to see what applications are in use. So I've just done for a little zoomed in view of generative AI within our applications menu, and we can see the applications that have been accessed in this tenant. So a lot of them you're probably aware of, things like ChatGPT and Grammarly we've been talking about, and Copilot, and another one called Beautiful AI. So we can see, straight away, what applications are in use in the organization. And, if we click into the users, we can see who's using them. We can see the number of sessions, so how active they are using this application, and also the amount of data they're, uploading, downloading. So we get a picture about, excuse me, what it is that they're actually, utilizing from an AI perspective. Now, if we wanted to go a little bit deeper, we can start to drill into reports. So we can go right down into the organization saying not only what applications are in use, but how many of my workforce is using these applications? How many of them actually actively using these applications? So done more than just log in. So we can get a good view about, what people are doing, the activities right through from, like I said, posting of messages in yellow here. So lots of posts to ChatGPT. But also we can see, with Grammarly, it works in different ways. So people are just browsing the site. They're not really interacting with it. They're just going there and having a look and seeing, is there something we can do with Grammarly? Can it help us? So it can give you, both a view into what people are using, but also, look into the behaviors of users. What are they looking at? What are they concerned about? And that can be potentially utilized to, formulate ideas around policy in the future. So we get a very good, rich view, again, of what people are doing, right through down to the actual activities from an instance perspective. So one of the great things about, ChatGPT, for example, is that, you can now have a paid for subscription, a team subscription. And in that team subscription, you get access to your own isolated version of the LLM. So in that scenario, actually, some of these concerns around, looking at source code, looking at, sales figures, within the application, they become slightly less of a concern because we know actually, although we're using the AI, we're using the LLM, we're not sharing that data outside of our organization. So in that sense, where we say, well, if we can see, whether people are logging in to the application, then maybe we can control that as well. And I'll show that to you, Devin, in a moment, that maybe we want to ensure that people are actually logged into these applications rather than using them, as you can do with ChatGPT, in a completely, anonymous, non-signed in way. So we give you a lot of visibility into what's going on, how users are utilizing these applications. So what does this look like? If I go back over to my applications in here, then we have our Cloud Confidence Index, which is our directory of applications. So within here, if I go down to my categories and I look at our generative AI tools, so just scroll down, we can see everything which Netskope classifies as a Gen AI tool. Now, like I said earlier, 217 when the slide was written. We're now up to 245, which gives you an idea about how much AI is kind of expanding as far as an area really within the industry. So we can see a number of applications in which you're probably aware of, things like Copilot right at the top through to Miro and Azure OpenAI, Duet AI from Google, that sort of thing. Now we might have users who are starting to use Copilot, and until we're absolutely sure that Copilot is safe for our users and we're perfectly comfortable with how it operates. So we've got various details around Copilot which you can dig into to get a view on it. We might want to set this as unsanctioned. So I've done that in preparation for this here. So at the moment, Copilot's unsanctioned. We're saying actually maybe you don't want to use that. Maybe we've set up ChatGPT. We've got our team account. We want people to use ChatGPT as opposed to Copilot. So what will happen now if people go and start looking for Copilot? There we go, Microsoft Copilot. We can provide some coaching messages. So we can say, hang on a second, this isn't approved. This is not a sanctioned corporate Gen AI application. And we can tell the user what they're trying to access. So, we're not just saying generic message, we're pulling in what it is that they're trying to go to. So if I did the same for Beautiful AI, again, another AI tool, which, maybe we've not sanctioned, we can do the same here. So if I open this up, you'll notice that, again, we're pulling in the actual application that users are trying to access. So trying to be slightly more personal with these messages. We can then, advise them what they should be using, in this case, ChatGPT. And then when you click on acknowledge, then you're going to be, forwarded through to the actual application that you should be going to. So if I acknowledge that, this is going to take me over to ChatGPT. Now, for ChatGPT, we might want to give them a bit of a coaching around, how to use ChatGPT. So we can customize this message to say, look, you're allowed to use ChatGPT, but remember to keep your data security in mind. So, adopt, good practice when accessing ChatGPT. So if I continue to ChatGPT, then we've come into ChatGPT and we're in the logged in version of this. So as you can see, I've got my plan. I'm logged in. TI there is a user. When you're not logged in, then obviously you don't get that. So we can now utilize ChatGPT to do what we want. So let's tell me a joke, for example. I mean, absolutely fine. And this is absolutely going to work. And it seems to like telling me one about a scarecrow. Now, what we still might not want to do at this stage, and we might want to sort of bring in some of Netskope's detection capabilities, is actually let people still, look at analyzing source code. We might say, actually, we want you to do this properly. We want you to, do this, go through a proper code review process rather than use ChatGPT. So I'm going to try and upload some source code here. It's just some Python. And at this point, we're going to start to use Netskope's AI engines to actually look at what's going on here. So we can see that this is source code detected, and we're going to block that. So utilizing the capabilities within Netskope to provide that kind of all-round view of protecting our users. Now, if my user goes, oh, okay, this is doing checks on me as a user when I'm logged in, maybe I'm going to log out of the corporate version of ChatGPT. So you can run ChatGPT logged out. Actually, at this point, we might say, well, you've tried to get around us. Well, we're going to stop you from doing anything. So at this point, we're going to say, if you try and tell me a joke, no. So you're using a non-corporate application at this point again. So this is not our corporate version of ChatGPT. It's not what we've been approved. So actually, we're going to prevent you using it at all. So make sure that you're logged in and using the application in the right way. So, and with that, I'm just going to hand back to Ben just to close out the session.